10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, very interesting topic we're going to talk about, and the only problem I have with this is we've only got 25 minutes to do this, so obviously the book that we're going to talk about is an important part of this interview. The book is called Marco Polo, and the name of the book tells you pretty much everything that we're going to be talking about, because we're talking about Marco Polo. John Mann is in England, I think, and he is an historian. He's a travel writer with a special interest in Asia. He was awarded Mongolia's prestigious Friendship Medal, and his book is, I believe, the basis for the Netflix original TV series called Marco Polo, which starts December 12th.
Yes.
So, if you paid attention in school, then you remember who Marco Polo was. If you didn't, then pay attention now, because you're going to learn it right now. And there's some sexual intrigue in this as well. So just in case you need a little extra reason to be paying attention. John Mann, good morning, John.
Good morning. Good afternoon from London.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for calling across the ocean to talk to us.
Okay. Is it coming through loud and clear?
Yeah. Is the echo gone? I hope it is.
The echo's gone, and I think we're all set.
Okay, excellent. So, well, thank you for calling in. How's the weather in London? First question, easy question.
Overcast, drab, but remarkably warm for the time of year.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, maybe it's global warming or something. I don't know.
That's what everyone always says.
So, am I right that the book you wrote is the basis for the TV series?
No, that's overstating it a bit. What happened was that I heard that they were casting Marco Polo and got in touch with the writer, John Fusco, and he, by coincidence, loved my book, which was terrific. But he started work on it before he read my book, so I can't claim to be the inspiration.
Okay. Well, with that said and corrected, tell me about the book and tell me about your fascination with Marco Polo.
I suppose it all started as a postgraduate. A notice went up on the notice board announcing a would-be expedition to Mongolia. This is a long time ago. This is just before 1970, in the late 1960s. So the deal was that I could come on the expedition if I learned the language. So I did for a year, and then the expedition was cancelled, and the whole thing went on the back burner until the Soviet Union collapsed, and I was able to finally to get to Mongolia and fulfill an ambition. And once there, I discovered that the key to the whole place, and indeed the key to much Eurasian history, was Genghis Khan. So I wrote about him, discovered a good deal about him, followed through the history of the Mongol Empire through his grandson, Kublai Khan, who took the empire to its greatest extent, and it was, of course, with Kublai Khan that Marco Polo served for 17 years. And so he was such a famous name, I thought he deserved a book on his own. So I went in his footsteps across all of North China, and was able to reveal a good deal about the place that we know as Xanadu.
Oh, wow.
And that was the beginning. That was really the beginning of it for me.
All right, now you followed in his footsteps, so you knew where to go. How did he know where to go? How did he choose where to go to do what he needed to do? Wasn't he basically a merchant? Wasn't he looking to buy and sell?
It was his father and uncle had made the journey before him, and they had the huge advantage that the Mongols ruled most of Asia at the time, and so they were able to pilot father and uncle right the way across Eurasia to Xanadu, where they met Kublai Khan, left again under firm instructions to bring back some priests, would you believe, from Europe, so that Kublai Khan could balance the various religious tensions in his own countries. And they brought with them young Marco, who was only 17 at the time. And that was how come he was introduced to the court of Kublai Khan, where he became Kublai Khan's admiring servant for the next 17 years.
And did his admiration of Kublai Khan change him? Like the person that Marco Polo was at 17, was he changed because of Kublai Khan? And I guess I really want to ask this: was he changed for the worse?
He was. I think what happened was that Marco at 17 was a mere teenager. By the time he arrived in China 4 years later, he was an experienced traveler, extremely tough, very curious, educated in the ways of the world, and he was indeed changed by Kublai Khan, because Kublai saw in him somebody who could tell truth to power, and for the next 17 years, that was Marco's role. He was traveling around the empire, probably with servants, gathering information, reporting back to Kublai Khan in a way that his own bureaucrats would not. So Marco became extremely good at reporting the truth as he saw it, and it was those qualities which came through when he wrote his book, finally, when he got home. They came through not 100%, but because the circumstances were so strange. But nevertheless, Marco was essentially a truthful person. He was curious, he was charming, he had many fine qualities.
Wow.
Well, was his life ever in danger at any point during his trek?
He says it was in danger when he was traveling out there, but he's remarkably spare with his personal details in his time in China, and I think there are probably good reasons for that by the time he got home. One of them being that he was almost certainly he would have been married, and he may well have had a family, but that's less certain. But married certainly, almost certainly. But he didn't describe any of that in his book, because by the time he got home, it would have put him in very bad odor with his Italian wife, and also with the people who were reading his book.
Why? Because he did things that a wife wouldn't want to know about?
Oh, I'm sure. Well, to be married previously, to somebody who would be regarded as a pagan by his Christian readers, yes, it wouldn't have been the thing to do at all.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness, so much we didn't know. Now, when you were actually walking in his footsteps, were you finding out things that you never knew from the books that you had read before?
Well, I was mainly interested in seeing the landscape that he would have walked through. His father and his uncle were taken across Eurasia because the Mongols ruled the place at the time. By the time they were traveling back again on their return journey, the Central Asia had collapsed into civil war, and they had to go by another route, which was actually much, much tougher. And it took them through Afghanistan, up over a terrible pass in the Tian Shan Mountains, and down into western China. And this was new to all of them. But remember that they'd been there before. News of their coming would have, certainly did, get to Kublai Khan at the speed of a galloping horse, and he sent a delegation to meet them. So they once again had guidance from about halfway across present-day China. I was keen to see where he came into China, which I was able to do. He left no records of this particular stretch of the trip, and nobody knows why. Perhaps they were trying to cut to the chase at that point when they were writing. He and his ghost were writing the book. But anyway, from that point in China, I was able to track him through Kashgar, Xinjiang, along the Taklamakan Desert, through Dunhuang, and then further following the Great Wall, in effect, although the Great Wall didn't exist in Marco's day, at least it didn't exist in its present form, and was discovering really the geographical realities behind Marco's trip. That took me to Xanadu, which was is today a wonderful archaeological site. You can go there, you can check it out on Google Earth.
Wow,
and,
that's cool.
Yeah, yes, and it's this great it's a very obvious square. I don't know that I could look up the reference for you, but it's once you zoom in on Google Earth, it's very, very apparent, and you can see what Xanadu was, a great square Chinese city with two other squares inside it, which were the inner city and the palace city. And in the palace, the base of the palace is still there as an earth mound. So it was tremendous thrill to go there and stand on the mound, on the place where Kublai Khan met Marco Polo.
Wow, so much mystery associated with this story.
Yeah, I love this.
We are all ears and paying attention for the first time since high school to Marco Polo. John Mann is on the phone over in England, in London, as a matter of fact, and his book is called Marco Polo, and the subtitle is The Journey That Changed the World. So let's find out exactly what the subtitle means. How did it change the world when we come back? This is The Source, WOCA. We'll be right back.
Are you a mom looking for inspiration? Are you creative? Mamazine.com is a lifestyle blog designed for the local mom to be inspired by the beauty of motherhood while staying current on local events and issues. Visit Mamazine.com today to find events around town, recipes, imaginative play ideas, and more. Mamazine.com.
I'm Major George Patterson from the Salvation Army. Please stop by our family store at 120 Northwest 10th Street in Ocala, where on Wednesday you have a 50% off clothing and bric-a-brac. On Friday, 25% off furniture and large appliances. And on Saturday, stop by to our yard sale from 8:45 to 11. Donations can be made by calling 352-732-4469 and we'll pick it up. Funds from the store go toward the services that we provide in Marion County.
Hi, my name is Dr. Erica Olstein with A Better You Healthcare Acupuncture and Eastern Medicine. As primary care physicians, we use acupuncture to treat back pain, arthritis, migraines, allergies, high blood pressure, thyroid disorders, hormone imbalances, stress, and more using all natural medical therapies. We treat the source of your problems, not just your symptoms. For more information, go to abetteryouhealthcare.com or call today to set up your appointment. 352-615-5566.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
All right, 17 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. John Mann is on the phone over in England, in London, and I heard you tell me I heard him tell you that we sounded bad. So we'll hopefully we sounds good on our end. So that's important.
Yes, he does. Very clear.
His book is called Marco Polo, and John, I want to tell you, during the break, I went on to Google Earth, and I put Xanadu, and I found a restaurant in England.
No. If you like, if there's another break, I will look up the reference and tell you, and then you'll be able to zoom in on it.
Well, there won't be another break, but... So what do I look up? I mean, is it called Xanadu in China?
No, it's not. You I don't know if you've got it referenced on Google Earth, but it's called Chengdu in Chinese, which means upper capital. That's why it's called Xanadu in English.
Oh, okay,
fascinating.
okay. And why is Xanadu considered such a mysterious place?
Well, those of us of a certain age used to know the poem by Coleridge, "In Xanadu did Kublai Khan a stately pleasure dome decree." And that's why English speakers know the name Xanadu, and that's why it's been picked up in, for instance, Citizen Kane. John Foster Kane built this wonderful mansion which was called Xanadu, if you rewatch Citizen Kane.
Right.
And Kane, I mean, maybe there's a connection, but because Kane and Khan are remarkably similar in sound, and that's why Orson Welles picked it up because of the poem.
Oh, wow.
That's why there are restaurants called Xanadu, and why there's a project Xanadu which was to record all I don't know, all speech, I think, on the net. It's like Project Gutenberg. But anyway, there are lots of shops and stores and restaurants and nightclubs. Well, there's a famous film called Xanadu.
That's right, with Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah.
With Olivia Newton-John. Completely batty film, but it's
who cares?
Popular.
We didn't care how batty it was. We just liked looking at her.
Was Marco Polo fluent in different languages, or did he have interpreters with him?
Well, they said he wrote in his book he had 4 languages, and that people have been trying to work out which those languages were. But one of them was certainly Mongolian, and one of them was not Chinese. His Chinese seems to have been extremely rudimentary, which is not surprising because the court was Mongolian, and he was talking in Mongolian to a Mongolian emperor, and that's what Kublai Khan was. Chinese now regard him as a Chinese emperor because he founded a dynasty, the Yuan, and that, as far as the Chinese is concerned, makes him Chinese. But Marco's languages, certainly Mongolian, because he has many Mongolian references, linguistic references, and also some anthropological references, which nobody who hadn't been there could possibly have known.
Do any of the things that historians argue about that Marco Polo wrote, do you believe that they are true, that the historians are wrong to question them?
No, they're quite right. He should be questioned at every turn, because when the reason he wrote his book was because when he got back home, there was a nasty little war between Venice and Genoa, and he found himself under house arrest with a writer of romances who turned out to be his ghost. And they didn't have a great deal of time, and this ghost was a popularizer, and he wanted Marco to tell of marvels. Marco himself wanted to tell the truth because there are marvels enough in the truth. That's the reason why there are a lot of distortions, exaggerations, and 1 or 2 outright lies in his book. He was a person who was notorious, very famous for the fact that in the end he was telling the truth. And in fact, on his deathbed, somebody said to him, "Look, why don't you come clean? And you should really cut out a lot of the stuff you wrote in your book." And he said, "I didn't tell 1/2 of what I saw."
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! So why? This may sound this is going to sound really dumb, and that's okay because that's from me. But how? Why did somebody write a book in the 1300s? I mean, there was no publishing back then like there is today. Could they actually make money from writing a book?
It's most unlikely. Well, it is possible because the guy who was his ghost, Rustichello, his name was, wrote and would have had a sponsor. What you did was try to get a good money from a sponsor in order to do the writing. And the sponsor, some aristocrat probably with a great deal of funds at his disposal, would want it for his own purposes. And once in existence, of course, it had to be copied by a scribe and then copied by scribes thereafter. You get copies of copies and translations and copies of translations, and the whole thing became a complete disaster in terms of any sort of original. The original, if that was written when he was in prison, was lost, and all we're left with is really dozens, scores of stuff which had been badly copied, deliberately added to and subtracted from, and it's been there's a whole industry of scholars who've been trying to work out what the original was likely to be. The original Marco Polo.
Without Marco Polo, all of those armies and the buildings and everything probably would never have been discovered to that extent. It seems the architecture rival like the Mayans and the Egyptians.
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that. With a bit of a distortion on the line.
Oh, I'm sorry. It seems that all of Marco Polo's accounts, without him, we wouldn't know all of the wonderful things that are out there, especially the architecture. It seems like the architecture was, outstanding, like the Mayans and the Egyptians.
I can't see any connection with the Mayans and Egyptians. I suppose in a sense we wouldn't know much about the Mayans because America hadn't been discovered at that point, and it was one of the greatest achievements. No, it wasn't an achievement. It just happened. It was that Marco finally, 150, almost 200 years later, inspired Columbus to travel across the Atlantic. That's quite a
really?
story.
That
do you
is
want
amazing.
Do you want me to tell you about that?
Yeah, but real quick, I want to ask a question that you just brought to mind. Does that mean that Marco Polo's contribution to us is as much from his writing as it is from his explorations?
Both. I mean, the explorations, the travels were incorporated in the book. The book was, nobody knew whether to take the book seriously or not for quite a long time, because nobody else went in Marco's footsteps for another, a few dozen years. What happened finally was that when the world started to open up, when the Portuguese and Spanish started to look for a way east, a map was drawn and accounts were gathered, which incorporated some of Marco's material. And it was that finally came to the ears of Columbus, who was aiming, of course, for China, the wealth of China, when he decided to go across the Atlantic.
Oh.
What had happened was that he'd been preempted for making any trip around southern Africa, which and via India to the east, which had been pretty much taken by the Portuguese. The Spanish had to choose another route, and it was Columbus's idea to head due west across the vast ocean. Terrible risk he was taking. 6,000 miles, as he worked it out, across the ocean, direct to China. But of course, as we all know, America just happened to be in the way.
Yeah, that always happens to us. This is so fascinating. Were you a consultant for the Netflix thing?
Well, I wouldn't claim to be that. John Fusco came across my book when he was well into writing it. Now, the historical background, the context, is pretty much there for everyone to learn about. And of course, there are editions of Marco's own book, which John consulted. But he came across my book and luckily liked it a lot. And how much influence I had on him, I would hesitate to say. But his job was to combine history and imaginative Hollywood-type content. And that's not. I was going to say that's not the usual route that Hollywood takes to take seriously the historical context. But he managed to do a wonderful job of combining the two.
Which is kind of what I wanted to hear from a historian. I wanted to hear from you that it was worth watching. I guess is what I wanted to know.
Well, I haven't watched the whole thing, unfortunately. I've only watched the first two because it's before the launch, and there's a limit to what is accessible to me. But from what I've seen, there is a historical context which John very knowingly distorts in order to tell the story. And if, like all history, if you told it with absolute thoroughgoing integrity, I don't think anyone would watch it. It's too long.
Yeah, which is why my autobiography is going to be very colorful, even though my life is very not colorful.
Yeah. So he absolutely has to. He takes it seriously. He changes it minimally in order to tell a good story. In fact, I mean, what happens is exactly what should happen. He distorts the facts in order to keep the spirit of the story.
Well, I'll have to get the book so that I know what's distorted and what isn't. That's probably the best way to say it. So how do I?
The opening is a bit. He takes a few liberties to start off with, in order to get him to meet Kublai Khan. But thereafter, I don't know. I would, like you, I'll be watching it with a great deal of interest.
So can I ask you, we've got 1 minute left. How do we get the book? How do we get your book?
HarperCollins are the publishers. Go to their website. It's on Amazon. Anyone's willing to tweet me at John Garnett Man. They'll find me, and I'd be very happy to talk to anyone.
What is your website, John?
John Garnett. It's at John. Tweet me at John Garnett Man.
Oh, okay. Oh, excellent. Well, John, thank you so much for being on the air with us. And we will look at the book. We will look at the TV thing or the Netflix thing. Mm-hmm. And do you celebrate Christmas?
Yes.
Well, have a good one.
Yes. Same to you. Have me back if you like.
I would love to. Yeah, maybe we can get you back after we've reviewed the book and everything. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, John. That was great.
Bye-bye.
Great interview. All right, we will take a little break. We'll be right back. We're going to have fun with Joe in just a little bit, get some good prizes and a good game scheduled, and we'll be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
PC Repair and Ocala Guest Wi-Fi.
Together and make sure that the unsafe airbag inflators are off the market.
Representative Lee Terry at a House hearing on Takata airbag ruptures and recalls.
The feds want the recall nationwide, but Takata insists that the airbags are more likely to malfunction in warmer states. That the evidence doesn't supply a nationwide recall and that the government can't force the recall. The U.S. Center for Auto Safety is blaming the airbags for at least 4 deaths. As many as 7.8 million vehicles in the U.S. from 16 major car makers could have defective airbags.
Fox Radio's Jeff Manasso. U.S. companies hiring at a solid pace, adding 208,000 jobs last month, according to payroll processor ADP, while U.S. services firms expanded at a faster pace in November. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Looking for a Medicare Part D plan? Join Express Scripts Medicare. You'll get personalized service from a dedicated team to help you save money and protect your health.
Express Scripts Medicare advisors like me can help you save money on your prescriptions.
As an Express Scripts pharmacist, I'm here to answer questions about your medications anytime, even in the middle of the night.
Get the quality and service excellence you deserve in a Medicare plan. Call an Express Scripts Medicare advisor today.